Hi guys, Calvin Strawn here, creator of the Find a Way to Win programs, the Audacity program, and the Eruption seminar. Today we're talking about the not-so-secret of the Olympic athletes. The not-so-secret, what does that mean exactly? It's a very common ideology that they realize that visualization is a huge component of the top-level Olympic athletes. So a lot of my work comes from neurolinguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnosis training, solutions-focused coaching, all these sort of peak performance training, all these phrases started sort of back in like the 1970s. Like 1970s, late 80s, early 80s, when these things sort of came to popularity, if you will. So back in the early 80s, peak performance training, specific regimented training was being developed. And so this study I want to show you here looks at this. There's 4 groups of Olympic athletes, and they were powerlifters. Took 4 groups of powerlifters to compare different styles of peak performance training. Okay, so these guys would go off, do their regimen, and in group 1, they did 100% physical training in group 1. So for the few weeks that the study was going on, 100% physical training. In group 2, they did 75% actual weights, physical training, and they had 25% visual training. They simply pictured in their mind themselves doing their lifts, doing their exercises, 25% visual. In group 3, what they saw was 50% physical, actual hard weight lifting, and then 50% was visual training. Okay, so 50-50 here. And in group 4, what we saw was 25% physical. So they actually only hit the weights. They actually only hit the weights 25% of the time. The other 75, 3/4, was close the eyes, picture themselves doing it. Now, as you're watching this, you're seeing these 4 groups in this study. Which group had the best or most improvement? Out of the group 1, 2, 3, and 4, which group had the most improvement after the 4 weeks of the study? I can tell you, this group here. Number 1 outshadowed group 3, 2, and 1 by far. Their results were astoundingly better than group 3, 2, and 1. What am I saying here? That this is incredibly powerful, being able to visualize. Now, am I telling you to sit at home and picture yourself losing weight and poof, it's going to happen? No. One of the presuppositions here is we're dealing with Olympic athletes, meaning they've done a lot of homework coming up to this study. They put a lot of effort in, a lot of energy in up to this point. They've already worked hard. Now, in this study, they're showing you that to see the extra gains, it was the visual piece. So think of it this way. Let's say you're a top-level salesperson, or you're a top-level actor, or you're a top-level, business person, and you've done all the homework with your MBA, or you've done the theater classes or acting classes you have, and you're coming to that final audition. What's going to be the determining factor between you and your competition is your ability to visualize. It's not bunk, it's not woo-woo, it's not pie-in-the-sky thinking. Just recently, actually, we just finished the Olympics a few weeks ago, Inc. magazine posted an article on how do the top-level athletes respond to pressure. How do they get through the intensity of being in front of all the millions of people around the world watching this, in front of the world's biggest stage and competing for a gold medal? How do they handle the pressure? And they asked the top-level winners. And of course, they asked Michael Phelps. And so Michael Phelps, you know who he is, of course. He's the most decorated Olympian of all time. He has more gold medals than anybody else in history. And Michael Phelps, in this article by Inc. magazine, says how he handles the pressure, if you don't know the answer, I've just been beating it to death. He visualizes. Before every race, he sees himself on the board, visualizing himself going down his lane, swimming, touching the wall, coming back, touching the other wall, and winning, and seeing his name there on top of the board. He visualizes the entire thing every single time without fail. He even goes a bit further. He sees himself actually visualizing his goggles breaking off, or his swimsuit ripping, and still going through the race and handling all the setbacks and making it happen. He fully puts pressure on that visual piece of making it happen. So the not-so-secret of the Olympic athletes is the ability to visualize. Really use that piece, because what happens internally, and we'll do this again later on in another blog post, we have more detail on this, on the power of choking, what happens when you choke, and you kind of fall short. Visualizing helps you prevent that, because what happens is, you ever heard the expression that says, your mind can't tell the difference between what something is imagined and something that's real? And what does that actually mean? So when you visualize yourself doing something, the same parts of your brain are going to fire off as if you were actually physically doing it. Now we'll go into that in more detail again later, but these Olympic athletes completely understand that. So it's not surprising that in this study, that the top group with the best performance was that who visualized themselves kicking butt in their performance. So before your next sales presentation, before your next audition, before your next exam, before you ask her out on the date, imagine it's going to go well. See in your mind all the steps it will take to go through that. Standing in the boardroom, seeing the other people in the room, seeing yourself speaking clearly, pointing to your presentation. See yourself going for the audition and sitting in front of the casting director and feeling it, and really imagine yourself being there and visualize consistently. That makes the biggest difference for these Olympic athletes, and will make the biggest difference for you if you want to find a way to win. That's all for now, folks. I'll catch you on the next one.